If you want to know everything there is to know about the Wilderness 135, then you need to watch this video, because I'm here with Chris at Hook, Line, and Paddle, who's going to take us through it from front to back.
Welcome back! If you're new to the channel, we cover kayak modifications, spin, and fly fishing. So poke that subscribe button so you don't miss anything.
I'm here with Chris at Hook, Line, and Paddle, and this is a great place to buy a kayak, because if you buy the kayak and the accessories here, they'll install it for free with no labor charge. And he's the kayak whisperer, and if you need to kayak and you're within 1,000 miles of Wilmington, this is the place to come. So I'm here today to look at the Wilderness system of pedal kayaks, because several of you have recommended I consider that in my decision to buy. And Chris is here to take us through a version of the Wilderness. This is
the 115. We sold out right after Christmas of the 135. So this is just 2 feet short. So the only real differences between the 135 and the 115 is going to be a smaller front hatch on the 115. Cockpit size is the same. So the only real difference again here is going to be just a little bit of a smaller tank well. But again, the overall cockpit of the boat is the same between the 115 and the 135.
Okay. So let's start at the front. How much room is in this front hatch? Now again, this is the
smaller hatch. So, yeah. You know, you can, if you've seen the old Radar 135 or a Tarpa 120, Tarpa 140, or the back of a Pungo 120 or 140, it's that same standard oval hatch. This is just a little bit of a smaller 8-inch hatch. So the boat there's still a lot of room in the boat, but just that little bit of a smaller hatch opening might dictate you putting some smaller gear into it. But other than that, you know, not that huge of an issue. Yeah, one of the nice. Yeah, go ahead.
And it's got the paddle park right here.
It does. Yep, and that's kind of comes standard on pretty much from the Tarpa 120 up in the Wilderness family of fishing. So minus that little bit of a smaller hatch, moving through the cockpit. With the Radar, you know, I think Wilderness Systems theory was kind of an a la carte kind of thing. You can just get a Radar 115 or 135 and paddle it. If you decide down the road you want to pedal it, or if you want to get it to pedal, then the Helix Drive for pedaling is an option that you can get, which retails $11.99. They also have a motor kit, which is designed by Torqeedo to perfectly fit this 4-Wilderness system. It's not something they kind of cobbled together to make work. They actually collaborated with Torqeedo to make the system work, and that's $19.99.
So both of these paddle well, though, since they're made to work without the pedal?
Well, if we're going to say anything between the 115 and the 135, the 115 is going to be a little slower paddling, because shorter kayaks tend to be a little slower on the water than longer kayaks. But in the reverse, the 115 will be a little bit more maneuverable than the 135 paddling, because it's a little bit shorter and you get less to bring around.
How wide are they? Both the same width?
They're both the same width at around 34 inches. And then again, if you decide to go for the paddle option and not the Helix pedal option, where this drive is, you'll have this console that will take up this void, so you just don't have a hole in your boat. Is their pod. So this is blank. You know, a lot of people are using this to add your fish finder. You unlock it, you remove it, you have a hole here for your transducer to go down through into the water. We mount the transducer here at the bottom, a simple latch, unscrew it. Now you have a spot to secure your battery. Close the lid. This is where you can add the base of your fish finder mount. So you now have a complete fish finder system, transducer, battery, and screen in one package. We're going to take the standard base mount from whatever fish finder you purchase, and we're going to go ahead and mount it right here. Because the thing would be, if you need to take the screen off, they're all kind of disconnect. Just like if you were going to put it on the center console of your power boat and you leave it in the marina, you're going to take your electronics when you tie the boat up and leave. It's kind of the same process. Now you can leave the whole kit together. So if you're doing some traveling and doing some fishing, you end up in a hotel room that night, you can have the boat locked down in the trailer or your roof rack of your car. You can grab your $400 fish finder and battery and take it inside the hotel room with you.
Okay, that's
Or
handy.
if you store the boat outside under your deck or hanging off your fence, you can now keep this in the garage to keep it safe, to keep it protected, the electronics. And again, These are multifaceted, so I believe they're $39.95 per pod. So if you wanted to have one set up with a higher end fish finder for saltwater fishing, if you wanted a more simpler version of it to go bass fishing, you just buy another pod, build it out the same way. Depending on what you want to do that day, you grab the right pod. If you just want to have a pod just for storage, you can just have a blank one that you can just use as extra storage, kind of readily available up in front of you.
That's pretty handy. And then this is where the electric motor would go as well, right?
Correct. So if you go to the Helix motor drive, you're going to remove this. And again, they collaborated with Torqeedo, and that whole motor system is built off of this kind of platform. It's just going to go ahead and drop right in.
Now, the disadvantage of the motor system is once I have it in there, I've got to watch where I am in terms of shallow, because there's no way that comes up other than picking it up.
Than taking it up. So that is, something you need to pay attention to. That motor will push this boat approximately 6 miles an hour.
Okay, so that's a little bit faster than some of the paddle options we've talked about before on the Slayer and the Kuza.
FD,
okay.
Kuza, yeah. So with that motor, it's just more powerful than we are. Now, depending on where you watch this on YouTube, now we're here in North Carolina. If you do motorize any human-powered craft, you then do have to register with the state. I know a few states, no matter what, they have to be registered.
So then the pedal drive is the other option here then.
Right. So this is going to be when you go away from paddling it. This is going to be your most cost-effective option. Again, at $11.99, where the Torqeedo motor for this is $19.99.
And what's the gear ratio on that
The
thing?
6-to-1 gear ratio.
So that'll move pretty fast.
Yep.
Then.
Just you have forward and reverse. We saw with the Slayer 13, when you get into shallow water, you got to flip the propel up. With the foot drive, you pull the handle and it retracts up. And what Wilderness Systems did, now you have to imagine that you're sitting here in the boat. They put the release switch here. So technically you would go and pop it with your foot. But, we're doing a video inside the store, so you're going to hit this plate with your foot. Drive system comes all the way up. Now you're at zero draft. So
that's pretty cool.
If you do bump bottom, you're not hitting it with the drive system, you're hitting it with the hull of the kayak. Once you get back into deep enough water, reach up, grab the top of the drive, press it down, you'll see that foot tab again pop back up, hear a little click, start pedaling again. Now, if it's up, you're stationary, it's shallow, and it's kind of getting in your way, when it's in the vertical position, now also flip that tensioner right there, and lay it down.
Oh, that's pretty handy.
Now it's kind of out of your way. Now it's low profile. To remove the whole thing for transport, take that cotter pin out, pull that pin out. So if you're going to be loading on the back of the truck, back of the trailer, top of your SUV, you'd want to have this stored inside the vehicle or tied down to the bed of your truck. And then when you're ready to deploy again, it's when it's locked up, it keeps the prop where it should be. So all I have to do is open the latch back up, seat it, lock it in position, you're ready to go. Moving back into the cockpit, you got this center hatch for getting more gear in and out of, a little bit bigger than the front hatch.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
So you can get more gear in and out of it. Again,
And also notice you got these compartments here on both sides.
you can stick in little Plano boxes.
For tools.
Yep, tools, Plano boxes. What they did was they went away from that comfort grip side handle, if you want a briefcase carry. And what they did was they molded in nice big grabs.
Oh, okay, I see them right there.
Yep,
okay.
instead of having,
and I noticed that they've got plenty of utility tracks,
tons of tracks
on both sides.
Yep.
And they go all the way up to the front.
All the way through the front. And also in the same respect with Native and Jackson, because the drive is stationary, we're going to think about your kayak seat like your bike seat, and it's adjustable forward and aft to get your leg length right for pedal.
Is it a high-low?
It is a high-low. So this is the low, retracts up to the high.
And I also thought I saw on the Wilderness site that it can fold up and go back to be totally out of the way when you stand and fish.
Yeah, it can. So you're gonna you can loosen all this stuff up. It's kind of a quick release like on a bike pedal, and then you can just undo that screw, you're going to want to do it in this position. And
Then it just goes right up into this
just-
slot
it just
right
sets
there.
right in this slot.
Okay.
And then you can use that as a retention.
Okay. So that's kind of handy if you're
Yep.
standing up fly fishing or something like that.
And it gets it out of the way. And the nice thing with your back and forth adjustments, really the thought was just like on a bicycle. It's just quick release, slide it forward, lock it back down again.
Okay. And it looks like it has plenty of scupper holes here to keep the water out.
Yep, so it's going to drain. And again, probably a little bit hard to tell from the video, but the cockpit, like most of the propel boats, I mean across the board, most of the foot-driven kayaks, and a lot of other kayaks nowadays, self-bailing, the cockpit is just slightly canted towards the bow. So any water that does come in is going to want to drain and run, and it's going to pool up down by your feet, and it's going to drain out of the kayak. You're really not going to have a lot of sitting water in it.
And it also looks like there's room underneath here to put plano boxes and
Yeah,
things like
even in the
that.
low position, you still have, you know, a couple inches of space. You can slide a couple plano boxes underneath there if you wanted to.
Okay. So one more feature I notice here is that there is a paddle holder
on the side, on both sides.
on both sides.
On both sides.
Okay.
Yep. Again, you have more track, which will allow you to adjust your bungee and your tank well if you want to tighten it up or loosen it. Or if you want to add a rod holder instead of having to drill in.
Oh, so we don't have mounted rod holders here anymore. But you could install the rod holders if you wanted.
Yep. So you could either do a Scotty base or a Ram base back here, and then put your rod holder in it, or you can use a gear track from Scotty or a Ram ball with a T-bolt, slide it in here. That way, you know, you're not drilling into the boat. And if you're to do that option, then whatever you decide you want to fish that day, whatever type of rod, it'll be interchangeable. If you want to go from fly fishing to spinning to bait cast or to fly rod, if you don't permanently mount something here but access the track system for it, then you can change up what you're doing that day.
So now this is the small version of the kayak.
Yep.
So on the large version, I guess the big difference is this is much, much bigger right here.
Yeah, it's not like twice the size. It's probably going to come back to about here, and then the stern. So you're probably going to get yourself another foot or so, maybe a little more of tank well, and it'll be a little bit wider further back before it tapers in.
On this small one, will a black pack fit in there?
It will. Yeah,
Okay.
No problem. And you know the nice thing, and what you know most guys are doing is that center stud for your bungee is where you can loosen it, put your black pack in it, lace it through to hold it down, and you're good to go. And you still have access to the lid to get inside of it.
And there's scupper holes back in here
Correct.
too,
Yep.
which is
There are
nice.
scuppers, yeah. And Wilderness System sells their scuppers as an accessory if you want to plug the boat. My advice, no matter what, if you're fishing, or really if you're just paddling to sit on top and you're carrying gear in the tank well, I always just keep the scupper plugs out. I don't want whatever I have back there marinating in water. I just let it drain, let the equipment dry up, and you're all set. I just don't want it sitting in a puddle of salt water or a puddle of fresh water.
And this is where the rudder would go if we
Yes.
get the pedal
So-
drive?
Yep. So this boat, it's new for sale in the shop. So whatever kit you buy, whether it's the Helix pedal or the Helix motor drive, the MD drive, it comes with its drive system, the rudder, the cabling, and the control handle.
So when you install it, the rudder obviously is going to go back here.
The rudder goes right
and
in
then this is where the
So the cabling runs
The
up to
cabling
boat.
would go.
And that's
Okay.
where your steering channel is going to be.
and it only steers from one side or the other.
No, you can actually steer from either side.
Okay, so there'll be two handles on it.
No, it'll be one handle. You choose which side you want.
Oh, okay. Then I noticed the other thing is they've got the really nice sturdy handles here for carrying.
Bow and stern for comfort carry.
They're not the canvas and rubber. Those are
no, there's a
molded in.
solid molded handle for easy carry.
So the other thing about this is it comes with all the basics, and then just like the Slayer, you're going to customize it with however many rod holders you want. Does anything go on the back of the seat here, like went on the Slayer?
They don't have anything yet for like they have on the Slayer.
Would the Slayer seat fit that?
I would imagine it could. I haven't tried it because no one's asked. So that's probably something I got to figure out. But it is Velcro the way it goes on.
Okay.
Velcro tabs.
Yeah.
So it's probably enough. I know they have a lumbar support that you can add here if you want to.
What the Wilderness guys have a lumbar support for here?
support.
Okay.
they kind of went a la carte. You know, you get all your track and you're ready to go. Again, if you went with something like the Radar, for cost efficiency, pick one brand of rod holder because their base mounts fit any of their rod holders. So if you want to go from fly fishing to trolling, you don't have to buy another base. You already have the base, just buy the rod holder and put it in.
Okay.
And that can save you about $15 every time you upgrade or add another rod holder to it. You just don't need another, you have to buy another mounting system for it. You already have the mounting system.
So what's the cost of this with and without the drive system again?
$1349 for the Radar 115, $1499 for the Radar 135. And then for both models, the pedal system's $1199. The motor drive is $1999.
So if I decide to go with this one, I really need to add up all the additional things that I would want to put on it and
Yes.
then use that to make the price comparison.
And then,
Well, Chris, thanks for that good overview.
Yep.
For all you guys out there, I appreciate your comments. I'm still trying to make my decision. Plenty of options that people have recommended, so throw it down below and I'll pay attention to it. And I'll add this to the spreadsheet that's down in the description. There'll be a link to that there. So thank you, Chris.
thank you, Steve.